Hey everybody, welcome to the Fireside. We have a surprise episode today, a little impromptu episode that kind of came up last minute, and I'm happy to share it with you. Today's guest is Sandy McAndrew of Reinventing the Tattoo. I don't know Sandy's official title at Reinventing the Tattoo, like manager, moderator. She seems to kind of run the show, honestly. I know that Guy Aitchison founded it and Gabe Ripley is pretty involved, but at this point, I think they're both kind of just like arm candy. You know, you dress them up and take them to a party and flaunt them around, stuff like that. But it seems to be Sandy's show. But the purpose, actually, for the podcast is that Guy is leading a 4-week kind of intensive cover-up course, and thought it might be interesting to our viewers. You might want to jump in on it, but it's coming up pretty quickly, just within a week or so. So I wanted to get this out fairly quickly so you could jump in and take part in it if you have any interest. While we were talking, we hit on some different stuff with our two clubs, Reinventing the Tattoo and then my club inside Fireside. Tattoo Club have been working a good bit together. We've just been sharing kind of some of our club activities between the two groups, and we have quite a few crossover members, folks who are members of both clubs, and so it was fun to sit down and just kind of talk about the two clubs and what our goals are and things like that. So I hope you enjoy the episode, and I hope that you take part in this cover-up opportunity. It really should be a super cool course, 4 weeks long. We'll get into the details of it in the episode, and I'll see you at the end. Start just by talking for a second about our clubs, because we have been collaborating and we have a goal to kind of collaborate more going forward. You're a lot more organized than I am, so you're like, okay, we can share these events for the next 6 months, and I'm like, I'm not sure what we're doing next month. so I'm more of a fly by the seat of my pants type of organizer, I guess, and you're like super planned out and you're inviting people. I am by the way copying your invite stuff completely to get people on board for doing technique talks, for doing critique nights, and and things like that. So I'm totally ripping you guys off. But talk just for folks who may not know about Reinventing the Tattoo and kind of what it offers, and just kind of some basics, just an overview.
Yeah. So Reinventing the Tattoo, back in the 90s, Guy Aitchison wrote that up as a the first thing was just like a little seminar booklet, and then he started to get such a good response from just that, so he started creating a binder, and that was just he would just continuously add special effects, how to create depth, all of these really important aspects to creating really awesome tattoos, and a time where that wasn't really necessarily a big thing. People sharing all of that information, and I think it made a huge difference in a lot of people's tattoo careers. I know I had the binder before it became the bigger book, and it was enormously helpful, and I feel like the main thing that I was learning for at the time. And then it became a book, and then eventually there was just continuing to be so much information that he ended up putting it online. And during 2020, when all of a sudden we couldn't have conventions and we weren't tattooing, and all of a sudden tattoo artists were like, what am I even doing with my life? Then Guy and Gabe created the virtual tattoo gathering, and we were trying to make these, they were making these little conventions, mini conventions every month online, and then it just became okay, this is lasting a little longer. We need to create something maybe that's not just trying to fit this in every month. So we all got together and we ended up moving everything from Reinventing the Tattoo online, and started creating more online interactive courses where we could continue this meeting up every Monday. And so now, since 2020, we've been meeting up every single Monday, other than I think there's 3 Mondays a year that we don't see each other, and just drawing and growing with our art together. It's really awesome. I can definitely say that for myself. I feel like I've leveled up since we started doing this, and so that's a big part of it, is our Monday night exercises, and then we've got the Canon, which is all of Guy's information, which is just immense. You can spend years reading that collection and watching hours upon hours upon hours of really in-depth videos. So there's the Canon, we've got the Monday night exercises, and then every 4 months we end up opening enrollment for the evolution course as well, which is basically a combination of the live stuff and the Canon information, but in a kind of guided way that allows you to work alongside other artists, and kind of like experience that together, which it's like kind of like a little classroom kind of situation, and that's been really great as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was part of those virtual tattoo gatherings. And when they were first pitched to me, I couldn't really wrap my brain around what it was going to look like. But
Yeah.
it was actually really cool. We had like a virtual Fireside booth that I could just like, I could either schedule to do certain things at certain times, or occasionally when those were happening, I would just like pop on live and just draw my tattoo for that week. And it turned into kind of what we both do now in our drawing nights, what me with Inside Fireside and you with Reinventing. It was just like an earlier version of that, where it was just kind of like a drawing group, and people were looking at over my shoulder at my drawing and asking, I was kind of problem solving out loud and stuff. And they were a lot of fun. And I really dug the idea of making them like however often, quarterly or even annually. It would have been a fun thing. But yeah, then COVID just kind of like kept rolling, and so there had to be a more permanent solution. One thing that you guys do really really well is your kind of your focuses. I've come in and helped with a critique night, and actually I did a critique night with Andy, and then did kind of a presentation on edges. And so you'll have guest artists come in and present on certain kind of principles of design or drawing and things like that, huh?
Yeah, those are really great, because we just we're, oh my gosh, my cat's going crazy. We generally get together and it's just like all of us, but then we try to at least once a month have guest artists, and then been really exciting having you guys from the Fireside coming and kind of collaborating with us. That's been really exciting too, just bringing any fresh people in. And because of the evolution course, we generally have our exercises are each blocked into like depth, lighting, lines and edges, any important design things.
Because of the Canon, you started.
Yeah, so because of the evolution course, we ended up having things laid out so that every 4 months we run through all of the design aspects that are within the Canon. So like depth and lines and edges, which you were there for, and that was really fun.
Yeah, that was
fun. We're doing lighting and stuff like that, and so it's like everything every 4 months keeps getting gone over, but from different people's perspectives. And so like when you're coming on about lines and edges, we were learning all of these different stuff from your perspective of that. Andy just did lighting. Andy's done a few of them, and it's really cool to see his, like, just the different ways that people look at these things and can explain them. And then all of a sudden you walk away with, even if it's just one nugget, you're like, whoa, that like totally changed how I do my lighting now all of a sudden.
Right.
So really it's good for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's super valuable, and I love getting the different perspectives. For example, we have a critique night last night, and most of the time, we have a monthly drawing challenge each month that we critique at the end of the month. And our drawing challenge is we do a little spinning wheel, and it's basically, all right, here's where on the body you're designing to, here's your subject matter, and here's your kind of principal focus. And we use one called the Fireside method, a little more simplified than Guy's kind of approach, where it's just shapes, values, edges, and colors, kind of in that order.
Yeah.
Those are the principles. And so we have a principal focus. And so for the most part, I'm the one kind of doing those critiques. And then the last 2 months, we've had guest critiquers on. Occasionally, Andy will come and help me as well. He's great. He loves doing that kind of stuff. But last night we had an illustrator, a really great illustrator, comic artist, that came in from a completely non-tattoo perspective and did the critiques. And it's so useful to get other people's, even if they're saying something similar, the way that they deliver it is different, or the way that they're drawing on top of we're pulling everyone's drawings in and drawing over the top of them. The way that they approach it, I'm just like visualizing it and starting to problem solve it in my own way, and they come at it from a whole other side, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I see that. That makes perfect sense.
Totally. It's like
Yeah.
the different parts of the elephant. If you try and explain an elephant and somebody's touching the trunk and somebody's touching the leg, it's like if all of those people talk together, you're going to get this pretty full elephant.
That's a nice analogy. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Well, let's jump in and talk about kind of the reason that we're here. So, Guy is he doing these types of like workshops, for lack of a better term, where he's working live with people? Is he doing those very often? I know early on that he was, and then it seemed like he kind of
So
tapered off.
now Guy generally like comes on every once in a while, sometimes for like critiques and stuff, and generally for like the people that do evolution, he'll give them their big finals critique. But we don't get to see Guy quite as often, and so this is really exciting. All of October, we're going to have Guy Aitchison with us, and he is going to be really getting into the nitty gritty of cover-ups. And like he said, the reason he wants to make sure people are starting to add that into the repertoire is because everybody needs cover-ups. Like there's so many cover-ups. I think a third of my clientele is at least cover-ups. And there's a lot of people that just like, I think are scared to do them, and they kind of just send people away, or they'll tell them that it's impossible. But there's so much that you can do with cover-ups. And Guy, I mean, you'll often scroll on his page and you might not ever notice that there are cover-ups because they're just that good. And so he is going to be sharing this immense amount of information in 4 different hands-on Mondays, and it's going to culminate to the 3rd week. Everybody's going to be able to have been designing for and then actually execute a cover-up tattoo on a friend or a client, however they feel comfortable, wherever they're at. And then that'll also be critiqued at the Paradise Tattoo Gathering.
Nice.
And so, yeah, it's going to be really awesome. Because I think that we've done a lot of exercises throughout the years of those, but a lot of people still never actually took it into actually making cover-ups. And so that will be part of the whole thing. And it's going to be really in-depth. We're going to have another group of people that are going to be doing like a panel. I believe you and Andy are going to be there. I'm trying to get somebody else on there. Right before you start tattooing that cover-up, we're going to have a panel critique. You're going to be able to tweak your designs. Guy will go over it. We'll continue on, and then you'll be like fully prepared to be comfortable making a cover-up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so that builds a lot of confidence when you actually see, oh wow, that worked. And so it's going to be 4 weeks. There's a whole itinerary laid out at the website live.reinventingthetattoo.com/coverup, and that has all of the information. And if there's anything missing or anything, then you can always email me for any reason, Sandy@reinventingthetattoo.com, and I'd gladly answer any questions.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll make sure to link to all of that. And it's coming up quickly as of the time of recording this. It's 10 days and 7 hours away. And so we'll have to get this episode out fairly quickly, which we will do. That's super useful. So that's such a great idea so the first kind of homework assignment is to find a cover-up client, right? So you have to have kind of an idea in mind from the very start. And so you're going to be working towards it for the entire 4 weeks. I can't think of a better method for a cover-up course than that, or a better like format for a cover-up course than that. That's great.
Yeah, the hands-on, I mean, like even just every week doing the Mondays, making sure you're hands-on, focusing on depth or whatever, just makes it so much easier for later. But actually getting to tattoo the thing is going to be just the things you learn from being able to do a cover-up, and then have, Guy guiding you through it is going to be pretty epic.
Yeah, man, technology. Imagine that Guy Aitchison could have critiqued your tattoo however many years ago. Like, Guy could probably help you out with that.
Right.
So will there be, are there prerequisites for skill sets or any of that? Or some people may be taking on like small lettering cover-ups and some people may be taking on half sleeve cover-ups. Is that true?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
So anybody, anywhere. If you're an apprentice and you're not even tattooing yet, we're going to make sure to have a drawing exercise that you can get really in depth on, as though it was a tattoo. And we'll kind of like talk more about techniques that you would want to use, like kind of pick your brain about things that you learned about that, so that we can at least try and prepare you for eventually actually tattooing one. But yeah, anywhere from apprentice to tattooing for 30 years, some people still aren't doing cover-ups 30 years in, or they're really nervous about them. They're just like, just put black over top of this area, done. So any skill set, and then you just get to pick whichever. I mean, some of it's going to depend on who you have available to do a cover up on. If you've just got a buddy and he's got one little thing, we'll work with whatever. Yeah, so any skill set, any cover up, it can be super gnarly. Guy does insanely gnarly tattoos that are cover ups. Sometimes without any laser removal at all, and it looks amazing. So he can definitely help guide you to whatever sort of project you're wanting to do.
Right, right. And I would imagine some of the stuff that Guy, outside of the design side of it, that Guy can really help out a lot on is all the different skin issues that you run into with cover-ups, scars, burn victims, lasered skin. There are so many like subtle things, and I've watched him over the years tackle so many like major, not just tattoo cover-up projects, but like scar cover-up projects and things where you're really dealing with some crazy skin.
Yeah, he's covered it all. So any questions, like if you want to build a question list to bring, any questions that you have is going to help somebody else that might see it and not realize they had that question or didn't even think about that being an issue, or it comes up, in a future tattoo. But yeah, a guy will have had experience with pretty much anything that you could imagine.
Yeah, exciting. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the sign up, I'll make sure to leave the link to sign up. You had mentioned that we're gonna be able to do a code for Inside Fireside
Yep,
members,
absolutely.
and what will that offer Inside Fireside
So
folks?
the course as it is $299 for the full month, and the follow up. Follow up just in case you, let's say, couldn't get that person in there that week, or you want a bit of feedback on like how it heals and stuff. And then so it's $299, and for Inside Fireside and anybody that's subscribing to Reinventing the Tattoo stuff now, then they will get $50 off. I'll make sure to have the code to you. Anybody that's wondering about that code for subscribing to Reinventing can email me again. And then if there's anybody that has been subscribing for the last couple of years to Reinventing the Tattoo, they're getting a big discount as well of $250. Just as a thank you for all your support. So if somebody hasn't seen their email about that, they could email me as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, even at $300, that's crazy cheap for 4 weeks of personalized feedback. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, yeah, and thanks for offering that to the Fireside folks. And I'll make sure for Inside Fireside people to share that through email and in the Discord, just so everyone gets it, and we'll get that shared today because it is getting pretty close. That's exciting. I can't wait to see how it goes, and I'd love to be a part of the whatever panel comes along to look at the finished products. I'd love to see what people do.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Let's before we wrap up, we're both going to be at Paradise in like a month. Are you doing anything? Yeah, it's crazy. Are you doing anything? What do you have planned for Paradise? I know Reinventing will have a booth. Are you tattooing? Are you presenting anything? What's the
I'll
plan?
mostly be there for tattooing and like hanging out at the booth, making sure people can get books and understand what's it is to subscribe and stuff like that, answering questions, and then I'll be part of the making sure that we've got that cover up critique going on.
Gotcha.
And otherwise, I might try and actually go to a couple seminars because I know there's so many awesome ones and
Great ones this year. Yeah, for anyone who hasn't seen, go to tattoogathering.com and just look at the list. It's crazy. We had a really great list last year, and this year, obviously, it's like it's leveled up so much. And I've had a handful of people who taught last year who are like, "Hey, how many pre-sales are on my seminar?" And it's like, "Oh, you've got competition this year. Like you're gonna have to plug it." Like,
Yep.
like you're up against Bob Tyrell and Marcus Leonard. So good
Yeah.
luck.
Yep. It's crazy. It's gonna be so awesome. I can't wait. It's crazy that it's coming up so fast. I feel like time is just like exponentially
Yeah.
fast. But yeah, I'm excited. It's just gonna be if anybody hasn't gone before, it's like the best convention
It
for
is
tattoo artists, I would say.
for tattoo artists. Yeah, for sure. If you're going and hoping to make $5,000 doing a bunch of tattoos all weekend, it's not where you want to be probably. But if you're going to really level up, if you're really going to level up your tattoo game, if you're trying to meet the best artists around and be around really really great tattooers, take a lot of seminars, it is the place. It is the place to be.
Absolutely. And you know what?
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody booked for that last one, and I had
Really?
2 or 3 walk-ups, and they paid for my trip and everything. I ended up breaking even, and I got to have an amazing time. So it was it was perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed you tattooed quite a bit last time. We were booth next to each other, and I think we are looking at the floor plan. I think we're neighbors again this year, so that's good. Yeah. And in addition to your tattooing and promoting reinventing, well, I'm sure we'll rope you in on a few of the morning discussion panels. There's probably
Yeah, that was lots of fun last year. Also, it was funny. I hadn't done a lot of public speaking in a long time, and so it was like a little surreal, but it was really fun. And and the guys that I was with were awesome. So
yeah, definitely we had a great group. Well, cool. Well, I will. I'll make sure to get this out quickly so people can have time to plan and get signed up. Is there anything else you want to plug, promote as far as the outside of just the 4-week Coverup workshop, signing up to the monthly drawing challenges, to the Canon, or getting involved in the evolution, the 4-week stuff? Is that all one membership level? Are they all set? Are they different? Do you want to run through kind of how it works?
So the Mondays we do, you're getting 4 Mondays each month, and it's $29 a month. And we meet every Monday for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and work on those together, and you get one replay of the last week's stuff. And then we've got the Canon, which you have all of the information from Guy's book that is continuously being added to, with seminars and written content from him and guest artists, as well as I feel like we're coming up to almost 200 replays of the Mondays. And then,
Wow.
but you don't have any live access. It's kind of for more people that are not they're like, I don't want to be doing live stuff, or I just don't have time to do live stuff. And then Evolution is definitely a little bit more of a time commitment, but you can also continue on for however long you want at that level. The Canon is, I believe, $399 for the year, and it is a subscription base. So if you end up being at the end of that year, okay, that was it for me, I can't do it next year, you do want to get a hold of me to cancel that. But if you don't, then you just continue to have that information. And then the Evolution one, you have the Mondays, you have curriculum stuff that's given to you every week, and they are in these little 4-month trimesters. And the next one's actually starting after this Coverup thing. We're kind of pausing everything else until the Coverup stuff's done, and so I believe it'll start in November. I'm not sure of the exact date, but that's $49 a month, and you get access to all of the information, weekly critiques, and exercises apart from the Mondays, as well as all of the 200 replays. And if there's anybody that's interested in that one or any of them, you can still email me, Sandy at reinventingthetattoo.com. I'll answer any other questions, because I know we're doing stuff that's just different enough to be a little confusing. So
yeah, just a few different levels. But that's why I asked, because I honestly wasn't completely sure. I know I've been involved in a handful of them, but I didn't know if they were all one membership or multiple. So yeah, Yeah, that's helpful. And I'm with you. We record everything that we do, our critiques and our Mindset Mondays and all of our events. And there are consistently 6 to 12 or 14 people that show up, week in and week out. And then there's everyone else that just goes back and watches recordings. And I think just like you said, it's either, I'm sure sometimes it's just time issues because we do them at 7 or 8 o'clock at night and some people are still tattooing at that time, I know. But also I think a lot of people just prefer to just not feel obligated to share anything. Just listen to it like they will listen to this and draw and do whatever they do and no pressure. No one's gonna because if you're on a call with me, I'm probably gonna say your name or call you for something. I'm just gonna call you out at some point in the thing. And so that I would imagine that's probably why people did that one too many times. They're like, I'm tired of Jake getting me involved in this. I'm just gonna watch the replays.
He's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have some people that just stay in the comments out of the Zoom and just watch the stream and kind of comment every once in a while, and that's cool too. Yeah. There's something for everybody.
Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks again to Sandy. All of the links that we had discussed will be in the show notes here. If you're watching this on social media, just click the link in our bio and we'll make sure that you can get to the registration page. If you're interested in either club, in Reinventing the Tattoo or in our club, the Inside Fireside Tattoo Club, I've linked to both of those as well. We both do a lot of cool stuff. We do a lot of drawing exercises. We have special guests on for critiques and we do a lot of technique talks and things like that. So a lot of crossover stuff that we're doing. I hope we can continue to do more. I enjoy working with Sandy and Guy and Gabe with Reinventing the Tattoo. Also, I hope to see you at the Paradise Tattoo Gathering that Fireside is co-promoting with Tattoo Now. Gabe Ripley's been doing the Paradise Tattoo Gathering for years, and this is our 3rd year partnering on it. Sandy will be there. We talked a little bit about it. I hope that you'll join us, and if you can't join us this year, we already have the dates for next year. So mark October of 2025 on your calendar if it's too late for you to come out this year. Thank you so much for supporting what we do, and we'll see you next time.